I'm at 4158 Mad Anthony Street in Northside. We're doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. We are entering, the access point here is the rear stack in the center rear of the basement. You can see there is the catch, or a stationary tub there, and there's another stack back in that corner. And so we will see where that ties in. We'll run some water through there to verify that. Probably on the way back. So right now we're vertical. It is cast iron until it gets horizontal here. Looks like this is all cast iron under the floor. Cast iron always does look kind of rough just due to the fact that it does rust, obviously. And so it can look a little ugly, but this looks like it's holding shape really well. A lot of times you'll have like a channel worn in the bottom of this stuff, so the fact that this doesn't have that is a pretty good indication that it still has a decent amount of life left in it. Can never really gauge the lifespan of cast iron due to that. Since it does rust, you don't know if it's on the outside, but usually the rougher it looks on the inside, the worse it is. And this all looks pretty open. It's kept in shape. We have the white stuff there is just kind of grease buildup from the sink line. We have some toilet paper here. So I want to know where that comes in. I'm going to try to get past this because you do have some toilet paper buildup here right at this turn. I want to kind of watch this and make sure that the line is open and running freely. It could just be that it's a turn in cast iron, and sometimes that stuff, like I said, mentioned with the rust, that it can catch stuff as it makes those turns. And so I am through it. I just can't see because I'm pushing through some debris. Looks like this may have been added later, actually. I know it's hard to see, but I think I'm actually in clay now, which would have been the original material under the floor. This cast iron, in most of these cases, it would have been added in the 40s, 50s, something like that, all the way up to the 70s, actually, that they still used cast iron on the inside. And so this may have been added later. It's really hard to tell. But I'm going to run some water in the stationary tub here and see if we can see where that comes in. Based off of the footage, hoping we're past the point where that comes in, because I won't be able to run water in this stack here because of it being open. And there we go. Now we got some flow there. So we're going to check. I'll pull back through, and you should see some of those solids. As long as that water's coming in behind where that cast iron is, there you go. And this is kind of where we started seeing it. We do have some roots there. It looks like we have that spot where it's try to push back through here a few times and get this to open up. Make sure we can see through here. Could have a belly, and it could be fine. Just create, sometimes at a turn like that, next to a union, If it's flat, which I think is what it is, you can see kind of the water, backing up against the camera. Sometimes that happens because of if the line is flat at that connection. It doesn't have a whole lot of slope to it to carry the water downstream. And that's what this looks like, a buildup of toilet paper and stuff that is probably due to the line being flat. But we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to push all the way out. Here we are. We switched into clay. And like I mentioned earlier, based off the age of the house, this was probably all originally clay. And that this back stack was probably added later. So we're going to leave that running. We'll push out as far as we can. Maybe in looks like I'm having some trouble getting through this spot here. And I can't see anything to be able to tell what this is. Okay, so I'm going to go back over and turn this water off and then see if we can get this to drain down a little bit here. May have to do is put a standoff on the camera and see if we can get past this point, at least get an angle on it here, because it looks like it's at that joint. It doesn't look, I don't see any major obstruction. It could just be an offset in the pipe that's hitting kind of strange. There we go. So what that could be is a buildup of like mineral deposits, stuff like that on that line. We don't know 100%. We'll try to wait for that to drain down, and we'll see if we can get all the way out. We do have a small offset here. That's nothing. That's minor. It's probably something, well, I'm sure it's been there since it was built, but just kind of a rotate in the connection. This camera lens is only about a ½ inch off the bottom of the pipe, so as we push, I will be pushing water up against the front of it. We'll get a better idea of how deep that water is if I pull back and we're still in water. Have a little bit of roots here. So that spot around 32 feet or so is what we want to pay attention to on the way back. As we push out here, I know it's smudged, but hopefully we get all the way out, we can see what's going on. Okay, that does look like a break shift in the pipe there as it's turning left. I'm not sure my camera, based off of the angle, is going to be able to get past this spot. You don't see a whole lot of solid buildup at this spot, but you can see how it's wedged back in where you do have an opening. I'm going to, looks like the water is escaping, but it's going to force my camera to go into that gap. And what we're hoping for here, based off of 64, 65 feet, is we're hoping that that is that this may be off the property. But I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to go get a locate to find out exactly where this is located. Be able to mark and put a depth here if it does need an estimate done. So we're going to pause and locate this spot. Okay, this is right where the steps meet the sidewalk, coming out of the center of the house. It is 7 foot 11 inches deep to the invert, which is basically where the camera's laying. It's the inside bottom of the pipe. Doesn't look like there's any major buildup of solids in this spot, but obviously it's pretty, I mean, the water could be escaping. And the other part of this is that there's also this is right on the edge of the responsibility of the Metropolitan Sewer District. So you could provide them with some information. Should be able to take a still image of this, and maybe you could provide that, or based off of where I made the locate, and they can tell you whether or not it is their property or not. Because you can see there's a large shift where it's dropped. That downstream pipe looks like it's moved. This is not obstructing flow, but obviously the pipe has shifted a great deal. At least this should be a 6-inch diameter pipe, so it's shifted around 3 inches or so. And so that's pretty drastic, but it is also the downstream part of the downstream side is what fell, so the water is still escaping because it's able to drop off. But that does mean that hub has broken, and this could also create some sinking spots on those steps. So the line's not obstructed in that spot, but that is obviously a potential and cause for a lot of potential issues there. Now what I'm doing is I'm pulling this back. I'm going to try to put a little riser on the camera, like a little standoff that'll hold the camera up a little bit, kind of center it in the line a little bit, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get past that point. A lot of this, there's a little tiny bit of root intrusion. I didn't see any trees that are really that close to the drip line, but there must be something close enough that's getting a little something in it. But none of the roots I've seen are an issue. I believe that was the spot there, or maybe this one, where there was like a buildup of around 30 feet or so. There was a buildup of possibly mineral deposits right here. Yeah, you can see that. Yep, it looks like kind of mineral deposits in that spot there catching. Those are not uncommon. And I don't see any solids. It looks like the water is easily overtaking that. That's why you couldn't see it when I was pushing out, even though I was hitting it. But it is hard, which would mean, some sort of hard mineral deposits, or possibly some bleed through from when they made the connection. If they had used the type of grouter, can't think of the word now, that they would have used to make the pipe connection. Sometimes those that stuff can come through the connection. See this here, 20 feet, that's a bunch of roots. I think that's what we were running into before. There's a bunch of root intrusion there at about 20 feet, and that's what all this stuff was sitting on. It's getting caught as it goes down, and then so there's probably root or trees in the backyard that are getting to it underneath the house, and so those would just need to be cleaned. Be able to remove them so that they don't cause a blockage. I would say that would be really close to, based off that blockage, it's or how much was covered with the roots, it would be pretty close to being at the point where it could potentially cause a backup very soon. You can tell it was already starting with the solids. Okay, so pull it all the way back, and now I'm going to try to put this, I am going to put this standoff on here, and we're going to see if we can get back through. Hopefully, it's kind of like fingers on the outside of the camera, and so sometimes when we have those roots like that, sometimes they can catch on that, and it'll prevent my camera from going through. But we're hoping, since it's close enough to the entry point, that I'll be able to push through it. So, going back down through here. So I'm going to go pretty quick through here now that I have that on the camera. And this will run a lot smoother once I get out of the cast iron here. Get into this clay, and then the pipe's a little bigger. There we go. I think we made it through, so that's good. So we're going to push through that root spot. And then you can see it was able to hop right over those mineral deposits. We should be getting close to that spot right down here. Oh, there it is, the offset. There we go, we got through there. And now I'm going to see if we can get through this turn here. And we were, thankfully. So now I'll be able to inspect the rest of that line. Good. Front here. Try to shake it off. Okay. Now we should be getting, well, there we are right there. Let's say we should be getting close to the main here. And there we are. See, that's why it looks dark. It's kind of hard to see the back. So again, I'm going to go ahead and run some water. And that way, hopefully on the way back, we'll be able to watch how it functions, and we'll see. This will have to be, I am going to suggest that a licensed plumber take a look at the video, and like I said, it will be marked out there, so they'll be able to see the placement of where this actually is. And possibly you could provide this video in my report to the sewer district to see if they would take responsibility for that area. They may not do anything now if it's not causing an issue, but they would be able to tell you whether or not that was their property. It's just going to be a hard, it's right there at the demarcation line, so it'd be would be kind of their decision on whether or not they take responsibility. So we're going to sit here for a minute. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video so we just don't have a bunch of empty airspace here while we're waiting for the water to show up. Okay, should be some water passing this, we just can't really see. I'm hoping to be able to, yeah, there is some water there, we're just hoping to be able to bounce it up on the camera there, there we go. that is the tap on the main. Anything from here on back until that point where that offset is, this should all be, if there was any issues in this area, that would be the sewer district's responsibility. That's why I mentioned earlier, could be the hoping that that spot, that they may take responsibility for that spot there. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the angle that the camera is laying. And it gives you some perspective of how all this is laid out. There we go. That spot at about 65 feet here, where that offset is. Said it looks like the water is escaping, and that's why you don't see any toilet paper buildup, any major solids here. And because it is at a pretty good angle of drop, it looks like everything is flowing freely. But again, I am going to recommend that a licensed plumber take a look at that to just verify and get their opinion on whether or not that should be repaired now, or if it's something that could wait. And then also, again, want to reiterate the thing about the sewer district and finding out if that would be their property or not. You can see how much speed that water has as it's dropping and then hitting the other spot. So that offset could have been there for years. But that, and obviously this one was about 65 feet, and then the other one at about 62 feet here, 61, 62, which these sections are about in 3-inch sections of this clay. It looks to me like in order we have the roots at about 20 feet. It's just one section, and it is starting to cause that to need to be cleaned before occupancy. And then you have at about 30 feet, there's some mineral deposits that have kind of built up that aren't causing an issue. The flow is able to overtake it easily. And then 61 to 65 feet roughly is where that section of pipe has shifted as it dropped down the hill. And that is, as you can see, the water, you can't even see that spot. That's where that is where the mineral deposits and stuff are right here, it looks like. So there's no toilet paper or anything caught in that area, so doesn't give me any reason for any kind of major concern there, but it is something to note. And then the root's at about 20 feet. Been pulling right up to this right there. Looks like I may have all the junk that I might have pushed it right on through, because I might have actually created a hole in there. That was pretty close when I pulled my camera back through the other way from the toilet paper catching on it. Ah, there it is right there. And so, the main issue there is just the roots that were catching all that stuff. And that's why when we went through there in the beginning, there was that buildup of toilet paper at that turn. And that was all due to those roots catching toilet paper and solids as they try to get out of the pipe, and then it builds up. Eventually, the water pressure was pushing it through once it built up enough and had enough weight behind it. But it is something that needs to be taken care of. coming back out. And we are out of the pipe. So, back into the drum. So, the line looked pretty good for its age. Overall structurally, you had the one section out between 61 and about 65 feet. There is that drop section of pipe that will need to be reevaluated by a plumber. And I will mark it, like I said, with it's got a green dot underneath the last step, and I will also put a flag there on the edge of that walkway. You could check to see whether or not the sewer department, if it's within their area of maintenance. And then you have the small mineral deposit, a little bit of mineral deposit. It's really very minor. It's just something to note. I don't think it needs any immediate action. And then you have roots from like 20 to 23 feet there. A couple sections that are actively grabbing some toilet paper and could cause a backup in a short amount of time. So I'm going to recommend, obviously, that a licensed plumber take a look at this and reevaluate the situation as far as the offset pipe and the cleaning. But the rest of the line looked to be in pretty good shape, especially for its age. So that'll end the inspection at 4158 Mad Anthony Street in Cincinnati, Ohio.